Welcome to the next lecture on research methods, and we have been discussing what kind of tools and methods we need to do efficiently our research. And in this lecture, we will be focusing on the software, the statistical analytical software that we'll be using, and it's called R. And it's one of the key tools that we'll be using. So basically, the purpose for this lecture will be the introduction to R. How do we first obtain it? Where can it be found? And then I will first explain why I would like to use R. And as I explained in my previous lectures, that it's a freeware, and that is that you can actually download it and install it for free. And the other key considerations are that it's very powerful. Now, when I say it's very powerful, you can compare it against other options that we have, other alternatives, namely SPSS and SAS and Stata and LIMDEP and the like. It's equally powerful as many other empirical computing platforms. It certainly is far beyond it's miles ahead of competition like SPSS and Microsoft Excel, and it competes very toe-to-toe with the other advanced computing environments such as MATLAB. Now, R is not just merely a statistical software where you can point and click, but it's also it's a calculator. It's a computing environment. It's a programming environment. It's a higher level language, and the power. But when we say it's powerful, it's actually capable of and doing not only running the algorithms that already exist that someone else has coded, but also you can create your own algorithms for solutions that do not exist. For the problems that you are interested in solving. I've already mentioned that it's free, and there's no commitment required, financial commitment or resources required to purchase and acquire R, and also the documentation, that is how do you run it, what kind of analysis you can do with it. There's extensive documentation regarding its capabilities available for free from the internet and from dedicated websites to R. It's current, and now when I say it's current, it's being updated daily. There are a few thousand researchers around the globe who are developing R. These are academics and students and professionals who actually are busy coding new algorithms, improving existing algorithms so that its capacities are enhanced, and they're making all that intellectual property available for free, so that people around the world could have access to a quality analytical tool, but for free, so that if those who cannot afford it should still have a good chance, an affordable, or in this case completely free tool to do research. And the last and most important point is that R is getting easier to learn. And what I mean by easier to learn is that if you are a beginner, an undergraduate student, or someone who is a professional but has not really worked in the analytical environments or have not programmed, you would rather prefer the point and click environment, that you just click on menus in your software, select the variables, and you get your results. So the point and click environment. And R has finally made that transition, that from being a command-generated or command-oriented language, it has now a visual, graphic. Actually, it has a graphic interface, a GUI, which is called Graphical User Interface, which was developed by a professor at McMaster University by the name John Fox. Now, so the graphical user interface is called R Commander, and it runs in the Windows and also in the Linux and in the Macintosh, Apple Macintosh environment. And not only that it has it's on its own is user friendly, the R Commander is on its own very user friendly, but other researchers have made it even further effort and have integrated R into Microsoft Excel. And there's a very interesting book that just came out this year from Springer, and it's called R through Excel, where researchers have actually coded and created a new add-in for Microsoft Excel, where you can run R without actually leaving Microsoft Excel's environment. So if you are familiar with using Microsoft Excel, and you know how your way around the software, you can actually bring in the capabilities coded or embedded in R directly into Microsoft Excel. Lastly, there's another add-in in R which is called Zelig, and the advantage of Zelig is because R is being developed by a few thousand researchers across the globe. There are certain peculiarities for the algorithms, so different researchers code algorithms differently, and what Zelig is trying to do is to create unified syntax for the commands to run, so that once you are familiar with the one type of command, one type of algorithm that you would like to run, the syntax would be the same for other commands as well. To give you an example, for instance, if you are running a simple regression model versus running a discrete choice logit type model, the syntaxes are different for the two. But if you were to approach this problem using Zelig, then you would have almost a very similar looking syntax, where you define the data set, the dependent variable, and a set of explanatory variables and other controls, and you will run the model from there. Now, R was not that popular of a tool in recently, as of late, but in the last, I would say, 2 to 5 years, R has made significant headway in becoming popular. Now, on your screen, you would see a clip from New York Times. It was an article written in New York Times about R, because it has become popular in not only in academia, where most professors are writing codes, but also in the practitioners world. A lot of finance houses, brokerage houses, in the U.S., where they do a lot of research on finance, have adopted R as a primary research tool, or a tool to analyze data. And these are good developments, and add on to the credibility of R when you know that they're not only being used in academia, but also it's being used by practitioners in the real world. If you were to focus on your screens, you would see this slide where the R generic R console environment is presented. Now you see that this is, as I mentioned, it used to be a command-driven environment where you would type your commands on the screen, and then you will get your output. But with R through Excel and R Commander, a new point-and-click environment has been created. So if you were to focus here, and if you follow my cursor, this is how R Commander looks like. And I've just taken a slice of my screen where I ran R Commander, and I'll be showing it to you in a little while. So you have a very user friendly environment, and the menus look very similar to any software that you have used in the past. So this is how R Commander looks like. Now, some researchers have actually gone a step further and embedded R Commander and R into Excel. So if this is Microsoft Excel, the R Commander is now embedded, and under add-ins you would see the R Excel. You click here and you get the same menu here which you see in R Commander file, added data, statistics, and graphs and models and whatnot into Excel. And if you click here, and these are just stills, not live pictures, you can actually get the functionality of R embedded into Microsoft Excel. Now for this course, I would be using R Commander, because I think it would unnecessarily complicate. Let's say if you don't know Excel, then if I were to use R through Excel, then I'm assuming that you know Excel, and then moving into R. And to avoid that assumption, I'm working with R Commander, because I will be explaining from scratch how to work with R and also with R Commander. Now, and here's the screenshot of Zelig being developed by these academics who are the lead academic is based at Harvard University, and they are working on developing Zelig as a common platform for the syntax to run models and do analytics in R. So the first question that one would come up with is, if R is so great, how do you get it, right? So in the next few minutes, I will explain how to get R, and the first thing to do would be to visit R's website. So here's the R's website. It's called http cran.r-project.org, and then if you type this, you get to R's website, or even if you type search for CRAN, C-R-A-N, you will find the R website. The website is very simple. The first thing it tells you is you can download and install R, and you can do it for if you're running Linux or the Macintosh operating system or Microsoft Windows. You can actually just click and download. It's as simple as that. Now, you will also see that the latest release is available as of December 14th, 2009. As I mentioned, that R is being updated regularly, and every couple of months they release a newer version, a more powerful, more capable, better version, and it's being updated in almost in real time. And the website is very informative. You can actually go to R's homepage as well from this, which is called R Project. And again, it's a simple website, which is the purpose is to disseminate information, and you can click on some graphics and just to see, and we are just downloading it in real time. So you see here the desktop. I'll click on the desktop the way it looks like in Macintosh, even though we will be working in the Windows environment, but just to make sure that you realize that R is independent of the platform that you would work with, Linux or Windows or Macintosh or Apple. So this is the Mac environment. The question is, how do you download it and how do you install it, right? So we created this brief document for you. The purpose of this document, which is available through our website, is to review the instructions on how to install R. So, and I will go through this document with you right now, and assuming that you will have downloaded this document from the course website and are viewing it. The first thing is you can download it, and since I'm based in Toronto, I downloaded it from the University of Toronto's site. You can use it. You can go on the website and click on it, and it gives you a lot of options. Now, the slides this document, when I prepared it, was version 2.9, and as you could see, that the version released on December 14th was 2.10, and by the time you will be looking at this document, even a newer version will be there for you to download, and therefore I have not updated my references to the version. That is the material. The process is going to be the same. So once you have clicked on download R, the file will be around 36 megabytes, and I encourage you to use a high-speed internet access to do that. It would take a couple of minutes. It will download it, and the first thing, the dialog box will appear. You have to select a language, and of course, if you are familiar with English, you would select English, click OK, and then the next dialog box would appear, and that's the installation screenshot. And here it tells you welcome to R for Windows. In your case, it could be Mac or Linux, depending upon what platform you have chosen. You click next here and then move further, and you get another slide where you see the license agreement, and you click next from there, and then it asks you where to install the software, and you can actually change the option, but if there's no particular reason to do this, I would suggest that leave it as is. It would install it where other software reside on your machine, but unless you have another reason not to install it where other software are, feel free to specify it here. Click next, and then after you've clicked next, you will come to this screen where it asks you what options would you like to install. For instance, what kind of help files. I would suggest just click on everything. Say I would like to have all documentation available to me, and even if it doesn't make sense to you for why I should download it right now, these are just small files, 1 meg or 2 megs, and select all of these and say click next. Then the next dialog box appear, and here you have to pay attention. It says, should I the software is asking you whether to have a customized setup or a default setup, and I would say please select use customized setup. And once you have selected customize setup, there's a radio button that you can highlight, and then you say click next. And when you click next, that's the next window that comes up. It asks you of would you like to use one big window, MDI, or separate windows. And here's the trick: please select separate windows because you will then be working in R the way I would show you. I've been using R in separate windows, and it's helpful because the GUIs come up and disappear, and having one single window is a little bit problematic, and it's a very good option to have, and I encourage you to select on separate windows. Once you've done that, the next option is what kind of help files do you want, and the Windows default option is selected, and there's no need, I would say, to change this option. Just simply click next. The next option, the next dialog box that comes up, it asks for internet access. Just select standard. It will probably already be selected for you. And then lastly, or not so lastly, it asks for start menu folder. It would suggest R, and I said there's no need to change that. These are by default. Click on next, and then it gives you an option: do you want a desktop icon or a quick launch, and do you want to register files with R? These generic options are already highlighted. You don't need to do anything, just click on it next. And then after you've clicked next, R will be installed. It will take probably a couple of minutes depending upon the speed of your CPU. Once it's installed, you will see a logo like this on your screen. It will be sitting on your desktop. You double click on this logo and R will appear. So even though I feel I've slightly rushed through this process, but since the screen by screen instructions are available to you through this document that we are uploading on our website, on the courses website, you can actually go through this process at your own pace. Now, once you have installed R and double clicked on it, you will see the R menu like this, and the R console like this, and there's not much point and click functionality in the generic R, because this is what R looks like. And as I mentioned, that R it's becoming easier to learn R through R Commander and other options. So you need to install R Commander, but you cannot install R Commander without installing R. So we are going in the chronological order. We have installed R, and now we will install some key add-ins to make it more powerful. And the first one I would like to install is the R Commander, and just remember that there are these are called the packages. Apart from R's own functionality, there are thousands of packages, and by the last count there were more than 2,000 packages written for R to improve and add on to its existing functionality. So this is amazingly powerful environment, not only powerful, but it's getting even more powerful as more and more packages and more functionality is being added. And it's a very different concept from a traditional software that you would use. If you buy a software and you work with it, it's not updated, and even if it's updated, it's basically fixing the bugs that existed in the previous version, and those bugs get fixed in the later version, and you update it and get rid of the problems. R, on the other hand, has a very different approach. It is improving the software, it's adding more functionality, it's fixing the bugs all on a very regular basis. Now, as I mentioned, we need to install a couple of packages, or a little more than a couple. So first thing we do is the R Commander. Now the R Commander is the point and click GUI, and it would be appropriate to mention the contribution by John Fox at McMaster University in Hamilton, Ontario. And John lives in Toronto, and he and his research team at in the Department of Psychology at McMaster University have been developing the R Commander, and I've been using it for the past year or so. And the way to install R Commander is to look at this. I'm highlighting this command. When you are in R, you type this command that I've just highlighted, and the command is install.packages, and within the parentheses quote start quote R Commander and quote comma dependencies equal to true. And no need to remember this because it's already written there, so no need to memorize this command. But this is the command you type, and then R Commander starts downloading. This command starts downloading R Commander and all the packages that you need to install to work with R Commander. And this would take some time, depending upon your internet speed. It may take 15-20 minutes or more. Once you have downloaded, the downloading and installation happens simultaneously. It downloads all the packages it needs, and then it installs them for you. Once the whole process is complete, and you will see regular updates on your screen that such and such packages are being installed, they are being evaluated, and now they are being installed. So downloaded, evaluation, and install, all of this is happening in front of you. And once it's complete, you can then type library and then in parentheses R Commander, and this is how you launch packages in R. And once you have launched R Commander, you can work with R Commander. And another thing that I would like to mention is that you can actually upload the software on a regular basis. And the way to do it is that you can type under packages. There's an option called update packages, and I'll show you how it looks like in the software. And then it will automatically look at the packages and determine if there's an update available for it, and it would download and install the update. And it would be appropriate if I were to show you how to do this in R. So let's actually start R. Here we go. So R is launched. You could see the same console that I showed you earlier. It looks like this. And under packages, if you look at it here and click on update packages, and then it asks for a mirror site. A mirror site is something very interesting. Instead of downloading from one website, R has created its websites, mirror sites all over the world. And usually I pick a site in Canada, but right now I'll continue picking a site. So I'll pick a site in British Columbia, and I click here, and you would see that the software is now checking on its website if there are updates available. And then once this process is complete, it will first identify the packages that needs to be updated, and then will ask if it were to go ahead and update those packages. The software has identified a whole host of packages that I need to update, which I won't at this stage. Now the R Commander looks like this. It has a GUI-like environment, and to launch R Commander, I will type library and in parentheses R Commander. You will notice that R Commander is launched, and I think it would be prudent if we were to maximize the window so the R Commander occupies the entire desktop, which I will do by clicking on maximize. And now if you were to look at the screen capture here, you will see that R Commander is loaded, and it has the same, almost similar feel as any other statistical software or any other software which is used for empirical work. The GUI looks like very similar. Click on File, Edit, Data, Statistics, Graphs, Models, and other options. Now, I mentioned earlier that R has extensive help and documentation available. In fact, there are, I would say, literally hundreds of documents, from small few-page tutorials to full-fledged documents almost to the size of a book, explaining how to use R and how to do analysis in R. And I think the first starting point should be the R's own manual, and it's called an introduction to R, and it's available from R's website. You can download it, and we will also make it available through the course's website so that you can download it. It's about a 100-page document, and it's called and it is titled as an introduction to R. And two very senior academics, Venables and Smith, are the key authors, along with the R team that develops it. There's a development core team. There are a few very specialized practitioners and very renowned academics who actually are belong to the core team of our development, and they not only develop R but also write this document. And so I'm browsing through this document, and it's related to version 10. And if you look at the table of contents, it begins with introduction and preliminaries and explains what is the R environment and how do you do R and statistics, and how do you use R interactively. It has an introductory session, and I think we will just copy that introductory session here. And then simple manipulations, it goes into numbers and vectors, and how that vector arithmetic takes place. Remember that R is is an environment that recognizes matrices, and all data sets are in fact matrices of vectors and rows and columns. So computations are really straightforward in R, because you don't have to specify things or structures, data structures as vectors or matrices. Everything by default would be such. And objects, then R is very much an object-oriented environment. Not exactly, but it's very close to being an object-oriented environment. And then it explains how it's what are the intrinsic attributes of data, modes and length and whatnot. And then some tools and techniques to manipulate data in R are already there, and the document is fairly comprehensive. Now I would encourage you as part of this course to take this as your first reading assignment, and not to go through the entire 100 pages, but at least go through the first 2 chapters so that you can appreciate how R, what is the R environment and how it works. Knowing that we will be using our commanders simultaneously, some of what you will learn would be redundant, but there's no harm in actually familiarizing yourself with the R software. So first thing you see is this document called An Introduction to R. Now the second document I will show you is called Statistical Analysis with R, which will make it available through our course website. And again, it's a quick start. It's a smaller document, it's a shorter document, and it's 47 pages long. It's slightly dated, written in September 2004. And this document, if you can look here, is basically explaining R from a statistical analytical point of view. So it takes you right away into linear models and time series models and graphics and so on and so forth. So all these documents have one thing in common, that they all begin with an introduction to R and the R environment. Right? And then the third document I would like to show you is a 15-page introduction, and it's titled as Very Brief Introduction to R. And the title gives it away. It is indeed a very brief introduction. It runs only 15 pages, and it's really helpful if you were to actually look at this document as well. And if you find the other 2 documents that I've just mentioned, the 100-page long manual and the 47-page long introduction, if you find them intimidating, then I would suggest and start with the shortest document, which is this 15-page document. Again, we'll make it available through our website. Now, one thing that I have not mentioned up until now is the R's relationship to its cousin called S. In fact, R is a language that was developed almost at the same time or a little after another language called S, which was developed at the Bell Labs, and then the commercial version of S is called S+, and it's also available commercially, but it's a really expensive software. And S+ and R share a lot of common platform. In fact, some of the commands, or a large number of commands that operate in S, also operate in R, even though they are independent. R is a freeware, and S+ is a commercially available software, and it's marketed by a company called Insightful. So often when you will be reviewing and reading text about R, you will see references to S and S+, and in fact some of the books written about statistical methods have been written about S+, and in showing examples from S+, but then they also make it clear that in fact you can use the same commands or similar syntax to do the same in R. S Plus is fully GUI operated, and it's available in Windows and other platforms as well. So we will go we'll quickly browse through this shorter document, the 15-page document. It is part of a textbook. It's called R and it starts with R and the Internet. Of course, R is integrated with the Internet. You download it from the Internet, you update it through the Internet, you install new packages through the Internet. So R is truly an Internet age software. Now this graphic is very revealing. So let's look at it. You are here on this side, you and your computer, right? And this is you here. And in the middle are the CRAN website that I just showed earlier in the lecture, and then its mirrors, the other websites around the globe that in fact serve as a mirror of the CRAN website, because at any given point or any given time, hundreds and thousands of students and practitioners and faculty members are downloading or uploading material to CRAN. So those mirrors help deflect some of the traffic from the actual website. So you are here, and then R is available through CRAN, and then there are statisticians around the world and practitioners, not just statisticians but academics and psychology and sociology and education and engineering, who are developing the R as a platform. And so they contribute their algorithms and their innovations to R through the Internet, and that goes up on the CRAN website, which serves as a repository of all the algorithms. And then from CRAN, you and I can download this material. So this is how R works. Thousands of people update it for us. We then download the latest from R. And again, you will see the same commands that I showed you earlier. If you would like to install a package, you just type install.packages, and then you install that packages. And if once you have installed a package, and now you would like to load that package to start working with it, you type library and then the package name in parentheses and in quotes. Now, one may ask, why R does not launch with all the packages that it has? Now, I mentioned there are 2,000 packages, right? And if R is launched with all those 2,000 packages, I think your system would be overburdened with all that functionality. And in reality, you will not be using those thousands of packages. You're only working with a handful of packages. So the way R works is that you launch the very basic minimum of R, and if you need any extra functionality, and you know where that functionality resides, which package contains that functionality, you simply launch that package and start working with it. So that's the reason behind not installing the entire R at the very same every time you launch R, but install it or launch it incrementally as your need increases and you need specific functionality. You end up launching that particular package. So from there onwards, you could see the mirror sites that we saw ourselves, and then some discussion about functions and objects. You can actually give names to data. You can create names to empirical objects, and you can give names to alphanumeric or alphabetic variables, and I'll explain these a little later. The way R works, some of the examples are here. So for example, if I type 5:8, it means 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me just illustrate this here in R. So I say 5:8, and R recognized that I intended to type 5, 6, 7, 8. It could be anything 1 to 10, right? And if you really want to see, it can do more. It in fact can do more. R is very powerful. These are very small numbers. In fact, we just typed 100,000 from 1 to 100,000. It just went through it in a second. So R works like this. These are the commands that you see on your screen. So typing 5:8 is the same as typing sequence 5:8. So there's always more than one way of doing achieving a goal in R. And again, we will discuss this later. Then from there onwards, you can read about how, look, this is an interesting example from a from the cartoon show Simpsons, that you can actually create a vector with the names of the characters in that cartoon show, and of course trying to find the average of names is not meaningful, and the software recognizes that, and it tells you that you're trying to compute an average of something which is not empirical, and it warns you against it. After that, there are some interesting data analysis examples, and I'm just simply browsing through it so that you can have a look at it later. Here are some instructions on how to bring in data into R, but since we will be using our commander, it would be easier for us because we can do this all instead of typing. We can actually use the point and click environment, which many students prefer. And some basic functionality, if you were to compute skewness, and don't worry about it right now, there are slides coming up your way in the next few lectures where we explain skewness, how do you calculate it. Here's the formula for skewness, and R actually readily computes it for you. It's already been programmed. Some examples of graphics, how do you create graphics, and furthermore some statistical analysis and the like. So I would encourage you to go through this brief introduction to R. It's a 15-page document. It can be read in one setting, and it would be interesting for you, if you really want to learn it, that have this document beside your computer, and whatever demonstrations that have been illustrated in the document, you actually do it by yourself in the document and in the R environment. Now, our focus is R commander, right? And the best introduction to R commander is written by John Fox himself, and this is an article he published in the Journal of Statistical Software. It's called the R Commander, a basic statistics graphical user interface to R, in which he explains why R and how R Commander comes about. We will make this information, this article, available through the course's website, and John explains the background and motivation here. But of interest to us is this slide. Now, if you look at R Commander, it has three components, and let me just take you to R Commander. This is the script window. Now, the script window is the window where whatever command you execute, it actually copies and pastes the script that it has executed in the script window. In the output window, the output from that command, whatever command that you ran, the output is stored in the output window, and the messages are stored in the messages window. If you have executed a command, for example, if you're trying to find the average of January, February, and March as alpha data, or if you say, well, I have 3 friends and they are assigned names as A, B, and C, you cannot find the average of A, B, and C. It has to be some empirical numerical data. So in that, if you try to do such a thing with R Commander, it will generate an error message, and the error message would be reported at the bottom. And any other message that is generated by the software goes at the bottom of it. Now, I will just simply show you how this works. I will read a data set from the data sets that are loaded with the packages. I select the car package, and I upload a data set. This is the Florida data set, and I can actually, now you see that I'm reading data from a package, and I will go through it again in a little detail. But I want to see, if I would like to see what is the help available on this data, I click here, and the help file comes up here. But that's not our point. That's not the purpose. We click OK, and the data are loaded. Now I have uploaded the data Florida from a package called R. This is the command I executed, and the script window has recorded that, and the output window has recorded the same. But if I were to view the data set, and this is the electoral data from the state of Florida, this is that controversial election in the United States between the Vice President Gore and at that time Governor Bush, which President Bush won through Supreme Court's intervention. This is the data from that election. And if I were to say find the average number of votes obtained by Vice President Gore in that election, I can just simply say statistics, summaries, and actually I can say give me the summaries of the entire data set. So I say summarize the active data set, and I click here. The software warns me that there are 11 variables. Would you like to see the summary statistics for the 11 variables? I said yes, that's fine, that's my intent. And you see here summary Florida. That's the command that the software executed, and under this summary Florida in the output window you see the output of the command. So this summary Florida, a simple command, gave me the variable by variable description of those. So there were, I think, more than there were 10 candidates, 10 or 11, 10 candidates, and the average and the mean, the maximum votes that they obtained are listed for each candidate. So the purpose is just to show you how the three windows work. The script window, whatever you do here by pointing and clicking, once it executes a command, it keeps it in the script window, and you can actually save these scripts. If you were to redo the analysis by just making a small change, you can make that change in the script, and then you run it, and the software will automatically execute all the commands till the final command and give you the results. All the results or all the outputs would appear here, and if there is a message, remember that when I loaded the dataset Florida, the message appeared here that the dataset Florida has 67 rows and 11 columns. It told me that it has 67 rows and there are 11 variables, and every row represents one data point. So not just the error messages, but whatever messages that appear as the program is running appear under messages. And this is fairly different, very different from your traditional spreadsheet environment where there are no messages and there's just one cell environment, and there are rows and columns and everything is in a cell. Here things are there are three distinct windows: the script, the output, and the messages. Now the next thing that we need to see in the document R Commander are these menus. So let's begin with the file menu, right? And under the file menu you have these options: open script file, save script file, and whatnot. So let me just click here in R Commander, and I click on file. So you would see the first option as change working directory. If you're working in R Commander and you would like to upload files and save outputs, you need to specify a directory, and this is the command you use to change the working directory. So in our case, let me first create a working directory called R December 2009, so that I remember what I did here. So I will go into the file manager, and I will create on the desktop actually a new folder called R_December, and now I would go back to R and I say I would like to change my working directory to R December, and here's the directory. I click on it. Now my working directory has become the same folder that I just selected, R_December. The advantage of doing this is that I don't have to browse through the files and the folders if my data are in one folder and my outputs are in another. I just put everything in one big directory and work from there. So if I were to change the working directory and I say, well, this is not the working directory I wanted, I click on change working directory and I can change that. I can open a script file, or I can save a script file. So this is a script file. Let's say I would like to save it. So I clean it up a little bit. I can delete things in it. I can clean it up here. I just deleted unnecessary files, and I also don't need these two commands, or I'll just keep them for a while. And here's my working directory. So I copy this, cut it, put it on the top, place it on the top, because this is something that I should have. Working directory command always at the top. And then I say File, Save Script. Now when I say Save Script, notice that in this GUI Save As, the working directory that I specified, r_December, it automatically comes up. And every time I open a file or save a file, it will be saved in this working directory. And I call this script as Florida_test. And I use underscore instead of space because it's sometimes computer gets confused, especially when you are uploading stuff on the internet or communicating it through email. Having file names with spaces become a problem, and I always use either a period or as an underscore. This file is saved, and now other commands are save output. I can also save the output, and again, if I save this output, it goes into our command r_December, and I say Florida, and this output has now been saved as a text file. And just to be sure that yes, these two files are here. So the script file has an extension R, and the output file has an extension txt, and I double click on it, and here you go. You can see that the text file opens up the output that we generated by using R. So I will switch back to our commander, and then you see other options, and I will not explain each and every option at this stage, but enough options so that one can get started with R. Under edit, you have this option of cut, copy, paste, delete, select all. So for example, if you would like to select all of this output, I say edit, select all, and the entire window has been selected. I can say edit and say copy, and I have now selected the entire output from this window. And when you're working with R, right now you see very small output here, but when you're working and you've been consistently working for hours, you would have pages and pages and pages of text and tables, and then edit, select all, and then copy would be very helpful, and you can paste it either in Microsoft Word or any other word processor, or save it as a text file. I usually save it as a text file because it maintains the formatting. I don't have to format these tables. If I were to paste it in a word processor, depending upon the typeface selected in the word processor, these columns would not appear as straight as they do right here. So these are pretty generic options. Even in regular everyday software, you have the same or similar options available under edit. What is interesting is this option called data, the menu data. You can load a data set, you can start a new data set, and you can import data from other software. Now, the one key difference between R and other software has been that R can actually work with multiple data sets at the same time. And it didn't used to be the case with other software, because they would only allow you to open one data set at the same time. So you're working with one data set, and that's it. And if you have to work with another data set, then you close the first data set and open the other data set. R works with multiple data sets, and you can open 10, 15, 20, as many as you like. However, because of this additional functionality, you then have to specify each variable, and then along with its database name. So any variable that you specify, please do not forget to mention the variables data. They both go together, and I'll show you how you specify that later. Now, you can work with data sets, and I'm going to open a data set here. So say load data set, and after load data set, I would have another folder here, and I will open a data set called the CEO salary. Now, and I have just opened the data set. So look under script window, it says load this data set, CEO salary, and I can view this data set. So see here, there are options. I can click here, edit data set, if I intend to make changes to my data, and I have no such intention. I just want to see what is in my data set that I have just opened. And see this window here, this small window with the blue writing. It has the name of the data set that I opened, CEO.sal.2, which is, I gave this data set this name. This is the CEO salary data set. It was a data set collected by Business Week a few years ago, in which they published the CEOs, the chief executive officers' salary, and the performance of the company that they belong to, and certain other attributes such as their age, their male or female, and how well the company performed, how much education does the CEO have, and that data set is available. So if I click on View Data Set, it will open this another GUI which shows the salary, the age, the college. So these are the variables. Now notice here that every record is identified by starting with 1 all the way to the number of observations, and you can have reasonably large data set. And when I say reasonably large, you can 30, 40, 50, 60, even 100,000 observations. I don't think it would be prudent to work with 1.5 million or 4 million observations in R, because that would be it probably would work with it, but it would be a little slow. But in this data set, we only have 177 observations, and each column that you see here, so if I were to highlight this, it's highlighting each row, but each column is in fact a variable. So the first variable is salary, the other one is age, the next one is college, suggesting that if the person had a university degree or otherwise, if they had a graduate degree, a master's degree, 1 if they had a master's degree, 0 otherwise. And so actually the purpose is to show you how the data are. And if I were to say edit data set, you would actually see this in a spreadsheet like environment, where each row is identified in a cell. You see a row is a combination of cells, and the columns are more cell-like environment. So I'll just close this as well. Notice that when I viewed the data, it called this command show data and then the rest of the command. And when I said edit data, it typed fix CEO salary data. So every time I'm doing something by pointing and clicking, R is creating a script and pasting it in the script window so that I would know what is going on. If we were to look at the other options available under data, you would see apart from opening and loading and importing data sets, you can actually have you can perform certain analysis with the active data set. You can create you can find out what is the help file. If there is a help file associated with the data, you can view that. And you can actually you can export data, and you can save the data in a different format. These options are available here. And the variables in your data, you can manage those. You can recode them, compute new variables. You can standardize those, and I will explain later what standardization means. Rename variables, delete them from the data set, so on and so forth. Of interest to us is the statistics option or menu. Under statistics, we have the basic descriptive statistics and correlations and some tests under summaries. We can do the contingency tables here. Then the hypothesis testing, the simple t-test, paired t-test, all of these are mentioned here. And then all the way at the bottom are the modeling. We can fit linear regression, generalized linear models. You would notice that some of the options are highlighted and the others have been grayed out. And these are the options which are grayed out because they are not readily available. R actually looks at the data, and if it doesn't find some particular characteristics in the data set which would allow certain functionality to become available, then it would keep that functionality as grayed out. It's a suggestion that nothing in your data set requires this type of analysis, or the data are not in that format that such an analysis could be performed. So I see that multinomial logit model option is grayed out in this screen here because there is probably no categorical data in our data set. This is the Florida data set, which has all the variables as count variables or continuous variables, and hence it makes sense that none of the variables are categorical. And this is coming up soon at the data types and discrete, categorical, and continuous data that we'll discuss in the near future. Now, the next option is the graphs option, and whatever types of R has a very extensive list of graphics that you can develop. It's a very powerful graphing tool, and all of those options are available here. And in the process, when the lecture on graphics comes up, I will be illustrating a lot of these in the lecture. There's an option called a menu called models, and this is the menu you use when you estimate different models and then compare the output from one model against the output from another. This is rather advanced topic, and we'll be discussing it briefly later. The menu for distributions is a very interesting option where you can actually learn a lot about these statistical distributions, and we will be discussing this later as well. There's the menu for called tools, load packages, and if you were to load a package, you can load it directly from here. And as R Commander became popular, other researchers and who had written packages for R, in fact, wrote the GUIs, or the graphical user interfaces, for R Commander, and you can actually launch a GUI within the R Commander and add even more menus at the top that would extend the point and click functionality of R. And then the help files are here. You can click on the help menu and you can start the help file. So this is a quick introduction to R and the R environment. What I've done in this lecture is to show you how to download and install R, and then R Commander. And also I have shown you introduce you to the documentation, some references to certain key documentation that have been available through the net, and we will also be making them available through our website. And lastly, I have shown you how to start or launch R, and then the R Commander, and then the menu structure in R Commander. And what I will encourage you is to go through the R Commander's introduction written by John Fox, in which all these menus are explained in detail. And then lastly, if I were to quickly scroll through R Commander's introduction, there's a fairly detailed basic information about R Commander available from this document. It's 42 pages long, and it's not a very brief document, but then again, these introductions and these documents would become your primary manual or reference points as you start working with R. So I hope that you will take the opportunity to install R and R Commander and start practicing the exercises, working with the exercises that have been listed and readily available to you through the documents on the net. Thank you.